My wife started crying when her ex proposed to someone else on Instagram. She whispered, "That should have been me." I stayed quiet. That night, I canceled the luxury honeymoon, took off my ring, and left the papers on the table. She came home to a half-empty closet, and a note that said, "Go chase what you lost." Now she's blowing up my phone, saying, "Please, I didn't mean it." I, 34M, never thought I'd be that guy posting his marital problems online, but here I am, 3 whiskeys in at my brother's apartment, wondering how the hell I got here. I guess I need to start from the beginning. My wife Sarah, 32F, and I have been married for just over a year. Together for 4. I thought we were happy, the kind of happy people post about on social media with those nauseating captions about soulmates and forever. But I guess that's the thing about happiness, it's as fragile as glass when built on the wrong foundation. Sarah and I met through mutual friends at a charity fundraiser. She was vivacious, smart, and had this laugh that made everyone around her smile. I was instantly drawn to her. We hit it off that night, and within 2 months, we were officially dating. The relationship moved quickly. Maybe too quickly, looking back. She moved into my place after 8 months. I proposed at the 2-year mark during a trip to Bali. She cried when I got down on one knee, said it was everything she'd ever dreamed of. Our wedding was beautiful, small and intimate, just family and close friends on a vineyard overlooking the ocean. There were signs, looking back. Always signs, aren't there? But we see what we want to see. Sarah had an ex, Marcus. They dated for nearly 6 years before breaking up about a year before we met. I knew the basics, college sweethearts, moved to the city together, had plans for the future that eventually fell apart. She told me they wanted different things, he was career-focused and not ready to settle down, while she was. The breakup was his decision, and it devastated her. I never pushed for details. Everyone has a past, right? And she seemed to have moved on. Marcus was just a name, a chapter closed before ours began. At least, that's what I told myself. Over our years together, his name would occasionally come up. A mutual friend would mention him, or she'd spot something that reminded her of a trip they took. Normal stuff, I thought. Nothing to worry about. Until 3 days ago. We were lounging on the couch after dinner, both scrolling through our phones. A comfortable silence. I was reading about a new hiking trail we could try on the weekend. Sarah was on Instagram. Then I heard it, a small gasp, almost inaudible. I glanced over, saw her frozen, staring at her screen. Her face had drained of all color. "What's wrong?" I asked. She blinked rapidly, didn't look at me. Nothing. Just surprised by something. I returned to my phone, but the air in the room had shifted. Something was off. After a few minutes, I heard a sniffle. When I looked again, tears were silently rolling down her cheeks. "Sarah? What happened? Is everyone okay?" She tried to wipe her tears away quickly, forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "It's stupid. Nothing important." I moved closer, concerned. "Hey, talk to me." She hesitated, then turned her phone toward me. On the screen was a photo of a man down on one knee in front of a woman on a beach at sunset. The caption read, "She said yes. Can't wait to spend forever with my best friend and the love of my life." I didn't recognize the couple at first. Then it clicked, the man was Marcus. Her ex. The one who wasn't ready for commitment. Proposing to someone else. "Oh," I said, not sure what else to add. I expected her to scroll past, maybe make a comment about being happy for him, or surprised at the news. Instead, she whispered those 5 words that shattered everything. "That should have been me." Her voice was so soft I almost didn't hear it. Almost. But I did. And in that moment, something inside me went cold. I stayed quiet. What could I possibly say? My wife was mourning a future that didn't include me, right in front of me. She was crying over another man's proposal, not because she was happy for him, but because she wished it was her in that picture. The rest of the evening passed in a fog. She composed herself, acted like nothing had happened. Made some comment about being surprised, that's all. We watched a movie. She curled up next to me like always. But nothing was the same. Nothing would ever be the same again. After she fell asleep, I stayed up all night thinking. Remembering all the times she'd mention him in passing. The way her face would light up when his name came up in conversation with mutual friends. How she kept a box of old photos in the back of our closet that I never asked about. All the puzzle pieces fitting together in the worst possible way. The next day, I went to work like everything was normal. Smiled at colleagues. Attended meetings. All while making calls during my breaks, canceling our 5th anniversary trip to Greece. The luxury honeymoon we never took after our wedding because we were saving for it. The perfect 2 weeks I'd spent months planning as a surprise for her. Non-refundable deposits be damned. I called a lawyer during lunch. Made an appointment for the following week. When I got home, Sarah was working late. I packed half my clothes, my essential documents, my grandmother's watch. I left my wedding ring on the dresser. Placed the printouts of our canceled honeymoon on the dining table along with a handwritten note, "Go chase what you lost." Then I called my brother, asked if I could crash at his place for a while. He didn't ask questions, just said to come over. That's the kind of brother he is. I was halfway across town when the text started. First confused. Then panicked. "Where are you? What's going on? What do you mean by this note? Please come home so we can talk." Then the calls. One after another. I didn't answer. Around midnight, the tone changed. "I know what this is about. You misunderstood. I didn't mean it like that. Please, I didn't mean it. It was just shock. It didn't mean anything. You're everything to me. By morning, there were 47 missed calls and over 60 text messages. Voice messages I couldn't bring myself to listen to. Emails I couldn't open. I called in sick to work. Turned off my phone. Tried to figure out what to do next. My brother gave me space but made sure I ate something. Asked if I wanted to talk about it. I gave him the abbreviated version. He called her a few choice names I won't repeat here, then offered to go get the rest of my stuff from the apartment. Not yet, I told him. I need to think. And that's where I am now. Thinking. Hurting. Wondering if our entire relationship was just her settling for second best after the man she really wanted didn't want her back. Was I ever her first choice? Or just the consolation prize? The worst part is, I still love her. That doesn't just disappear overnight. But I don't think I can ever unhear those words. I don't think I can look at her without wondering if she's thinking of him. I don't know what I'm going to do next. The lawyer appointment is still on my calendar. My phone is still off. My brother says I can stay as long as I need to. Maybe this seems extreme to some of you. Maybe you think I should hear her out. But when someone shows you who they really are, or in this case, who they really want, you have to believe them the first time. Update, 24 hours later. I turned my phone back on briefly. The messages continue. Some angry now. Some desperate. Friends have started reaching out too, saying Sarah is worried sick, that I need to at least let her know I'm okay. My brother went by the apartment to pick up my laptop and a few other things I need for work. Said Sarah looked terrible, hadn't slept, had been crying. Part of me feels guilty. The other part remembers her tears weren't for me. He also said the honeymoon documents were still on the table where I left them. Untouched. As if she couldn't bear to look at them. I asked if she said anything to him. He hesitated, then told me she just kept asking where I was, if I was okay, when I was coming home. Said she needed to explain, that it wasn't what I thought. What else could it be? I asked him. He had no answer for that. Neither do I. Update, 3 days later. I've moved from my brother's couch to his spare room. Looks like this might be a longer stay than initially planned. I went into the office today, needed the distraction. Everyone could tell something was wrong, but no one asked. Small mercies. Sarah has started emailing me since I won't answer her calls or texts. Multiple times a day. Long emails. Explaining, begging, angry, then apologetic again. The emotional roller coaster is exhausting even from a distance. The gist of her explanation, yes, she was upset seeing Marcus engaged. Not because she still wants him, but because it brought up old insecurities. Seeing him commit to someone else when he wouldn't commit to her made her feel not enough all over again. It was about her ego, not her heart. She says she loves me, chose me, wants me. The "that should have been me" comment was just a knee-jerk reaction to feeling rejected all over again. Maybe that's true. Maybe it isn't. The problem is, I don't know if I can believe it. I finally listened to one of her voicemails. Her voice was shaking, barely audible at times. Please come home, she said. I can't lose you over this. You're my whole world. What I said. It didn't mean what you think. Please let me explain in person. I haven't responded yet. Still processing. My lawyer says we have options. We've been married just over a year. No kids, thankfully. Property division would be relatively straightforward. The word divorce feels so final, so devastating. But staying in a marriage where I'm constantly wondering if I'm second best would be worse. Some of you have asked if there were other signs that she wasn't over Marcus. Looking back, there were moments I brushed off. She kept a photo album from their time together. I never looked through it, respected her privacy. But she would sometimes get it out when she thought I wasn't home. When we first started dating, she would occasionally call me by his name when tired or drunk. It stopped after a few months, and I wrote it off as an honest mistake. Last Christmas, we ran into him at a mutual friend's party. She was overly animated all evening, laughing too loudly, touching my arm constantly as if to remind herself I was there. We left early. She claimed a headache. But there were also thousands of moments where she seemed completely present with me. Completely in love. Making plans for our future. Supporting my goals. Being my partner in every sense of the word. Which makes this all the more confusing and painful. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to believe. Update, 1 week later. After much consideration, I decided to meet with Sarah. Neutral ground, a coffee shop downtown. My brother thought it was a bad idea. Maybe he was right. But I needed answers, needed to see her face when she gave them. She was already there when I arrived. Sitting in a corner booth, hands wrapped around a mug she wasn't drinking from. She looked smaller somehow. Dark circles under her eyes. Hair pulled back messily. Wedding ring prominently displayed on her finger. I ordered a black coffee I had no intention of finishing and sat down across from her. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The weight of everything unsaid filled the space between us. Thank you for coming, she finally said. Her voice was hoarse. I nodded, waiting. I know what I said hurt you, she continued. I know how it sounded. But you have to believe me, it's not what you think. What is it then? I asked, keeping my voice level. Because from where I'm sitting, it sounded like you're still in love with your ex. She flinched as if I'd slapped her. I'm not. I swear to you, I'm not. Then explain it to me, Sarah. Explain why seeing him propose to someone else made you break down. Explain why you wished it was you. She took a deep breath. When Marcus and I broke up, it wasn't mutual. You know that. He told me I wasn't what he wanted for the long term. That he couldn't see a future with me. Do you know what that does to a person? To be told you're not enough? I stayed silent. For years, I believed him. Believed there was something fundamentally wrong with me that made me unlovable in the long run. And then I met you. Her eyes filled with tears. You loved me. You wanted a future with me. You proposed, and for the first time in so long, I felt worthy again. She wiped at her eyes with a napkin. When I saw that post, it wasn't about wanting to be with Marcus. It was about wondering why I wasn't enough for him when this other woman is. What does she have that I don't? It was about my own insecurities, my own wounds that I thought had healed but clearly haven't. That's not what you said, though, I pointed out. You said, that should have been me. I know. And that was wrong, and hurtful, and I wish more than anything I could take it back. What I meant was that should have been me back then, the me from the past who wanted his validation so badly. The me who felt worthless when he left. Not the me who has you now. She reached across the table for my hand. I pulled back slightly, not ready for that contact. I love you, she said fiercely. Only you. I chose you every day for 4 years, and I'll choose you every day for the rest of my life if you let me. Marcus is my past. A past I thought I'd processed but clearly haven't fully. But that doesn't mean I want him. It means I still have work to do on myself. I considered her words. They made sense in theory. But the image of her crying over that proposal was burned into my memory. The honeymoon, I said after a moment. I was planning it for months. It was going to be a surprise for our anniversary. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. I saw the itinerary. It looked perfect. All the places I've always wanted to see. The day you were crying over your ex, I was finalizing dinner reservations at that rooftop restaurant in Santorini you've always talked about. The one with the sunset view. She covered her mouth with her hand, stifling a sob. That's the thing, Sarah. I've spent 4 years paying attention. Learning what you love, what you dream about. Planning a future centered around our happiness together. And in one moment, you made me question whether any of it was real. It was real, she insisted. It is real. My reaction wasn't about wanting to be with him. It was about old wounds I didn't realize were still open. Please believe me. I wanted to. I really wanted to. But something still didn't sit right. I need time, I finally said. I can't just come home and pretend this didn't happen. What can I do? She asked, desperation edging into her voice. How can I prove to you that you're the only one I want? I don't know, I answered honestly. I need to think. We parted ways shortly after. She hugged me before I could step back, holding on tightly as if I might disappear. I remained stiff in her embrace, not ready to soften. As I walked away, I heard her call after me, I love you. Please remember that. I didn't turn around. Update, 2 weeks later. I'm still at my brother's. Still going to work. Still existing in this strange limbo. Sarah continues to reach out daily. Sometimes I respond, brief text to let her know I'm okay. Sometimes I don't. She started therapy, she tells me. To work through her unresolved feelings about her past relationship. Not to win me back, she clarifies, but because she realizes she should have done this years ago. Before it hurt us. I appreciate that. It shows self-awareness at least. Friends have started taking sides, as friends do in these situations. Most are sympathetic to me, think I'm justified in my reaction. A few think I'm overreacting, that one comment in a moment of weakness shouldn't erase 4 good years. Maybe they're right. But they didn't see her face when she said it. They didn't feel what I felt in that moment, the sudden, sickening realization that maybe I've been living a lie. I had my own therapy session yesterday. Spent most of it trying to articulate what exactly is holding me back from accepting her explanation and moving forward. The therapist asked a question that's been haunting me since. Are you more afraid that she's still in love with her ex, or that she settled for you when she couldn't have him? Both possibilities are painful. Both feel unbearable. I asked for her relationship timeline with Marcus. Wanted the full picture I'd never pushed for before. They were together 6 years. Broke up because he didn't want marriage and children, at least not with her. They stayed in sporadic contact afterward, birthday texts, occasional group gatherings with mutual friends. Nothing inappropriate, she insists. We met 11 months after their breakup. Started dating shortly after. I asked if she was ready then, or if she jumped into our relationship to heal from the previous one. She says she was ready, that she had processed enough to open her heart again. But now I wonder. The lawyer called. Asked if I wanted to proceed with filing. I told him to hold off for now. Not because I've decided to reconcile, but because whatever I decide, I want it to be deliberate. Not reactive. Not done in the heat of emotion. Sarah asked if she could drop off some of my things that I might need. Clothes for work, my favorite books. My brother went to meet her. Said she had packed everything neatly, organized by type. She'd included notes in some of the pockets, little messages of love and apology. He said she asked 1,000 questions about how I was doing, what I was eating, if I was sleeping. My brother, who was firmly in the divorce her immediately camp at first, seemed a bit softened after meeting her. She's a mess, man, he told me. Really torn up about all this. Good, I said, immediately regretting the pettiness. Look, he said, I'm on your side no matter what. If you want to end it, I get it. But if you're considering working through this, well, she seems sincere. For what that's worth. Even my staunchest ally was wavering. Maybe I should too. But then I remember that moment on the couch. The raw honesty in her whispered words before she knew I was listening. And I stiffen again. Update, 1 month later. I moved into my own apartment last week. A short-term lease, 6 months. Still figuring things out, but needed my own space. My brother was great, but a man needs his own bathroom. Sarah helped me find the place. Not directly, I'm still keeping some distance, but she sent listings she thought I might like. This one had good natural light and was close to the park where I run. She remembers these details about me. It matters, somehow, we're talking more regularly now. Texts throughout the day. An occasional phone call. She's been open about her therapy, the insights she's gaining. Apparently, she had put Marcus on a pedestal after their breakup. Romanticized what they had because the rejection hurt too much to face. Easier to believe she'd lost something perfect than to accept that the relationship had real problems beyond his commitment issues. I've been doing my own work in therapy. Examining why this hit me so hard. Yes, hearing your wife wish she was engaged to someone else is objectively painful. But my reaction, the immediate assumption that our entire relationship was a lie, says something about my own insecurities too. I've always felt like I found someone out of my league in Sarah. She's beautiful, vivacious, the kind of person who lights up a room. I'm more reserved, steadier. I've carried a quiet fear that someday she'd realize she could do better. When I heard those words, it confirmed my worst fear, that I was always the consolation prize. But was that fair? 4 years of genuine connection, reduced to ash because of 5 words spoken in an unguarded moment? I don't know. We met for dinner last night. A quiet restaurant where we'd had our 3rd date years ago. She wore the blue dress I've always loved. Her hair was down the way I prefer it. She was trying, visibly trying, to remind me of what we had. The conversation was stilted at first, then gradually eased. We talked about work, about my new apartment, about the television shows we'd both been watching separately. Normal things. It felt strange and familiar all at once. Over dessert, a tiramisu we shared, she brought it up. I've been thinking about the honeymoon, she said softly. About Greece. I stiffened slightly. What about it? I looked at all the places you'd planned for us to go. The hotels you'd chosen. That cooking class in Crete. She shook her head, a sad smile on her lips. It was perfect. Everything I'd ever dreamed of. That was the point, I said quietly. I know. And that's what I keep coming back to. Marcus never knew me that way. Never paid attention to what I wanted, what I dreamed about. It was always his career, his goals, his timeline. She looked directly into my eyes. You know me better than anyone ever has. You see me. The real me. I nodded slowly, acknowledging the truth in that. If I could go back to that moment on the couch, she continued, I'd shake myself. Remind myself what was real and what was just wounded pride. Because what we have, what I hope we still have, is real. What I felt for Marcus wasn't. Not at the end, and certainly not now. I wanted to believe her. I was starting to. I can't promise I'll never have another moment of insecurity or misplaced nostalgia, she said. But I can promise to be honest about it, to work through it properly instead of letting it blindside us both. And I can promise that I choose you. Every day, in every way, I choose you. We didn't resolve everything that night. I didn't go home with her, didn't say I was ready to try again. But for the first time in a month, I felt a glimmer of hope that maybe we could find our way back. Update, 3 months later. I moved back home last weekend. Our home. Sarah's and mine. It wasn't a dramatic reunion. No running into each other's arms in the rain like some romantic movie. Just me, with my suitcases and boxes, stepping back into the space we'd created together. She'd kept everything exactly as it was. My books on my nightstand. My favorite mug in the cabinet. The throw pillows I always complained about but secretly found comfortable. It was as if she'd preserved our life together, waiting for me to return to it. The decision wasn't made lightly. We spent the previous 3 months rebuilding, slowly, carefully. Weekly dinner dates that gradually became twice weekly, then more. Long conversations about everything. Our childhoods, our fears, our dreams for the future. The kind of talks we should have had years ago but somehow skipped in our rush to be together. We went to therapy, individually and together. Unpacked all the baggage we'd both brought into the relationship. Her unresolved feelings about her past rejection. My deep-seated fear of not being enough. I learned that Sarah had spent years thinking something was fundamentally wrong with her because Marcus didn't want to build a life with her. That seeing his engagement triggered all those old insecurities in a moment of emotional ambush. That her words came from a place of wounded pride rather than lingering love. And she learned how those words confirmed my worst fears, that I was the safe choice, the one who loved her more, the one who would never leave. The pivotal moment came a few weeks ago. We were at my apartment, cooking dinner together. Some cooking show was playing in the background. The host mentioned Santorini, and Sarah went completely still. When I looked over, tears were streaming down her face. What's wrong? I asked, alarmed. I keep thinking about that rooftop restaurant, she whispered. The one in Santorini you booked for us. With the sunset view. I nodded, throat tight. You remembered I mentioned it once, years ago. Just in passing. I'd seen it in a travel magazine and said it looked magical. She shook her head in wonder. You remembered something I barely remembered myself. I remember everything about you, I said simply. She crossed the kitchen, took my face in her hands. That's what I've been trying to tell you. Marcus never did that. Never would have. He didn't love me the way you do. And I never loved him the way I love you. Something shifted inside me then. A knot that had been tight for months began to loosen. We're not completely healed. There are still moments when the doubt creeps back in, when I remember her tears over his engagement. But they're becoming less frequent, less powerful. 2 days ago, Sarah surprised me. She'd booked us a trip, not to Greece, not yet. Just a weekend at a beachside cottage a few hours away. A new memory to build, she said. A first step toward our delayed honeymoon, which she hopes we'll take next year on our anniversary. It was on that beach, watching the sunset from our cottage porch, that I finally took my wedding ring out of my pocket where I'd been carrying it for months. She watched, barely breathing, as I slid it back onto my finger. Are you sure? She asked, voice trembling. No, I answered honestly. But I'm sure I want to keep choosing you every day until I am. She cried then, and this time, I held her. Let her tears soak my shirt. These tears were for us, for what we almost lost, for what we were fighting to rebuild. Last night, back in our bed for the first time in months, Sarah whispered to me in the darkness. Thank you for giving us another chance. I pulled her closer. Thank you for showing me it was worth it. We're not perfect. Our relationship isn't perfect. We both have more work to do, on ourselves and as a couple. But I believe now what I couldn't believe 3 months ago, that her 5 whispered words weren't the truest thing she's ever said to me. They were just the most painful. The truest things are in the details, the way she cuts fruit for me in the morning before work. The text she sends when she sees something that makes her think of me. The way she still reaches for my hand in her sleep. Marcus may have been her past, but I'm her present. And if we keep doing the work, I'll be her future too. That's enough for now. That's everything. Final update. 6 months after that day on the couch, Sarah and I are in a good place. Better than before, in many ways. More honest. More intentional. We don't take each other for granted anymore. We've rebooked the trip to Greece for next summer. Sarah insisted we keep all the same reservations, the cooking class, the sunset cruise, and yes, that rooftop restaurant in Santorini. I want exactly what you planned, she told me. It was perfect the first time. As for Marcus, his name rarely comes up anymore. Sarah unfollowed him on social media the day after our confrontation in the coffee shop. Not because I asked her to, but because she realized it wasn't healthy for her. Some wounds need distance to heal properly. Last month, we ran into him and his fiancée at a friend's birthday party. Sarah squeezed my hand when she saw them, a silent acknowledgement of the moment's weight. We chatted briefly, surface-level pleasantries. I watched her face carefully, searching for any sign of that old pain, that old longing. What I saw instead was polite disinterest. She was cordial, nothing more. And when Marcus and his fiancée walked away, Sarah turned to me with clear eyes and a genuine smile. Ready to go home? She asked. I was. We were. Sometimes I think about the version of myself from 6 months ago, sitting in my brother's apartment, 3 whiskeys in, wondering if my marriage was over. I wish I could tell him it gets better. That what feels like an ending might just be a difficult middle chapter. That sometimes the most painful moments lead to the most necessary growth. Sarah and I aren't the same couple we were before. We're more cautious with each other's hearts now. More deliberate with our words. More appreciative of what we almost lost. Yesterday, I overheard her on the phone with her sister. I couldn't imagine my life without him, she was saying. He's everything. This time, I believed her. They say every marriage has moments that test its foundation. Earthquakes that reveal the cracks. Ours certainly did. But we've rebuilt on stronger ground. And now, when I look at our future together, I no longer see doubt. I see possibility. I see us.